just make sure I'm still in airplane mode. Okay.
Ready in Hamesh, Shalosh, Albo, Stein.
Oh boy. Welcome to Catching You Up with Nadav. Today we're going to be talking to Chad Wallin, who is a producer at YMH Studios. That's your official title there now, right?
Official title, producer, but I do all kinds of stuff.
Right.
As you know.
Initially hired as an editor and then worked his way up into a whole bunch of other fun hat positions. But I'd like to take this time first to thank the executive producer of this episode, who happens to be Chad Wallin. And if it wasn't for Chad and his big baller support, I'd probably start DMing people with like decent sized followings that could be bigger and then promise them, hey, do you guys want to increase your engagement? Do you want to increase your followers? I can do that for you. But you need to first click this PayPal link and like pay me like, I don't know, let's call it $5,000. No, $500. Let's call it $500. I do that multiple times a day. And then people would just start paying me, and I'd never fulfill any of that stuff. And I would just be scamming people. I'd be reported to the Bureau of Better Business. I'd be shut down real quick. But good news is I know how to start new identities in different countries. And I'd start this shit all over again. But because of big ballers like Chad Wallin, I don't have to do that. And with that, I would like to say now's a good time to comment, like, subscribe. It all helps with the algorithm. And I'd like to now welcome our guest and executive producer of the episode, Chad Wallin, everybody. Woo! Yeah. So, Chad, real quickly, before we start getting into our conversation, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I started making these travel videos that, I've traveled so much that I've taken a lot of that footage and turning them into little stories, kind of inspired by Ari's new podcast. So they're on my Instagram. I put some of them on YouTube, so... Starting out, trying to get that going, see how it goes.
Love it. Yeah,
cool.
There'll be links to all that in the description. If you guys want to click on that, you'll be able to support Chad and all of his fun side projects. Chad, thanks for making it, man.
Thanks for having me. This is, exciting. I think, some of the support I gave you as a producer, I won some of that money back when you challenged me to a pickleball game for $100.
Oh, dude, did you still want to do that?
We did it. I won.
I don't remember it that way.
Well, we could ask any.
So I think there was a rematch involved. No, there was something where we were going to do heads up. No, we agreed to a challenge. I just don't think we ever actually did it.
No, we did. I won 11 to 3.
No, that doesn't sound right. Oh, that's what it was. We challenged for a double or nothing match.
Yeah, and then that didn't happen. But
right, because you're like, nah, man, I'm a one and done. Like I can't replicate. I can't rebottle this lightning.
No, I felt bad that I had taken your money.
What a sucker. Well, okay. So before we get too far into it, the reason why I'm having Chad on is because there's a lot of people that, see people like me, see people like Chad, see anyone else in the podcasting industry that isn't a host, and they see them on camera and they're like, oh, that's probably a super easy job, but they don't realize that there's a whole bunch of steps and decisions that had to be made in order to get to that position. And so this is just kind of like not a tutorial, but like a way that, people can see like, oh, that's one path to take if that's a job that I want to do. And so I'd like to thank you for coming on here and, helping to educate people on one of the ways that they could possibly land their next dream job.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing I wanted to note was I think I brought this idea to you where I was like, you should do an episode on like how to get hired or how I got hired there even,
Yeah, this is your idea.
And then the first thing you did was not have me. You had Chris.
Oh, no. Actually, I had Ben Avery, George Kimmel, Andres. Like, you're like the fifth person. Like the fifth. No, I mean, fifth person to air, but like seventh person to record. So I love the idea. Thank you for the idea.
Cool, man. Thanks.
And I'm glad that you were able to do this. And I want to say thank you for saying last minute to do this because, Annie dropped out. So I do want to say thank you for showing up. Because, people are busy, things come up, and it's just nice to know that you're never too busy to call up for a last minute favor. So thank you, Chad. Aren't you glad you said yes to this?
Yeah, totally. I was sitting by the pool. Now here I am getting fucking Well, one thing I've been meaning to ask you is like, why'd you quit YMH?
Dude, I was too scared to run the marathon.
That's what I heard online. Or is like the Sopranos kid did something?
Yeah. Like it's just all the conspiracy theories. It's all every version of all of it mixed together is exactly the reason why I left. It's not at all what I said on mic. It's definitely not that.
Oh yeah, you did a whole episode on that.
Yeah, pretty much every reason that people thought that I left is the reason that I left.
Yeah. I was gonna say I missed you, but after today.
After that intro, you're like, fuck, no.
Yeah.
I don't miss this at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I first want to get into how I interviewed you, why you got hired for the job, and kind of then work backwards into how you got qualified for that, and then just some fun stories afterwards of just, you and me being in the trenches together and the different shit that we've done.
Sounds fun.
So when we decided to move to Austin to build out like a bigger podcast production studio, first thought in my head is just like, well, it's me, Chris, Ennie, and Zolo doing all the work. That was the staff at the time. Potter had already transitioned to talent. Or maybe he wasn't on the network anymore at that point. But when we were considering moving to Austin, like Tom and Christina had sent each of us out here for a full week to just like get a feel for the city, see if we like it, see if like we want to make the move with them to Austin. And during that week that I was here checking out the city, I set up a whole bunch of interviews. So I'd imagine, well, you've already seen this. It is very difficult to hire for YMH Studios.
Definitely.
Because there are so many boxes that need to be checked. And the last one almost always is the skill. It's like, are you going to be like a good hang? Like, can someone tolerate being in a room with you for 8 hours? Do you get jokes? Are you easily offended? Are you going to be a problem for the culture there? Because it's so fun and comedic, where it's just like you gotta have thick skin. You gotta know that like, sure, every now and then there's gonna be a skull cracking or a tongue lashing or whatever it is. But that's all part of a normal job.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can you hang with jokes? Like, are you fun at lunch? Like, and not necessarily fun, but like, are you gonna be like, hey, there should be an HR department here, like?
I can't imagine.
So the way that we'd always done, because I've always felt that the best way to get like employees here, like, sure, I could hire. There's a million editors to hire, but I needed to hire someone that was familiar with the universe. So what we always did was, I'd post from our social media accounts or whatever one we had at the time, hey, we're looking for an editor. They have to be local to Austin. They have to be proficient in this, and available for, I don't know if I gave like the time dates that they need to be available for.
I don't think so. It was just like you have to know, you said be in Austin, no Premiere, and no audio.
Right.
Or what you posted.
Right, because at that time we hadn't had anyone that had an audio background on the team. Like there was Ennie who had live production, and it was me and Chris who had post-production. Zolo was straight out of college and more of the producing side. And I was like, the thing that we like are lacking in most is someone that knows how to mix audio, which is crazy for podcast production. But like, in the beginning we used something called Levelator, which is, are you familiar with that?
I am so unfamiliar with it. That's what makes it funny.
It was literally you just drop it in, and this was before AI, but like it's just like, oh, it's quiet over here, let's fucking boost everything. It's like, oh, it's loud over here, let's quiet everything. Like, it was a wild listening experience. Like, and it was good enough because it was like 10 years ago. But that's how we used to mix the audio. And then once we started hiring people, it was like, we should hire someone that knows what the fuck they're doing, because like this isn't a great way to do it. And so I made the post, and whenever that happens, there's hundreds of like submissions that come in, and like I'd say 80 to 90% of them are joke submissions, where it's just like, cool, a lot of bullshit to fucking go through. And then there's 10%, something like that, of people who are just like, oh, they actually attached a resume.
Right.
And shit like that. And I think what had happened was I set up, I want to say somewhere between 5 and 10 interviews, something like that. Probably closer to 5 of people where just like, all right, these people all feel like they would be good fits. They all have backgrounds and things that I need, and they're at least good at editing. Like they at least know the program. And like that's what these interviews were, was that me just testing that you weren't lying on your resume.
Right. So
I think you were probably my last or second to last interview. Something like that, like for the day. Like I posted up in a coffee shop and I just staggered people like I think every like 15 or 30 minutes. So many interesting people, and like there are people where like you talk to within the first 5 minutes, you're like, this isn't going to be a good fit, or they lied. Like they're definitely not proficient like they said that they were. And I remember when I first talked to you, I think you had bought me a coffee too?
I did. I didn't know if I should bring that up because is that like, buying my job from you?
You did definitely a little bit of bribery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was getting coffee and it's like, maybe he wants something. So.
And I did.
Yeah, I'm pretty thoughtful.
And I remember I was in the middle of an interview where I was like, this kid is so excited, but definitely not getting the gig. Like he'll be worth it at some point down the line, but definitely not now. And then you came in and just like, everything you said was correct. Everything you said was the right answer. I was like, I could tell this kid is smart. I remember that you, like in your resume, it was, I think you were a film like professor, like you taught film at colleges.
Yeah.
And I was like, that seems like he should know Adobe Premiere a little bit. Like
yeah,
so
you would think.
The technical proficiency was there. And you had a whole entire background in live audio switching because you're a musician. And you come from a whole family of musicians.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is actually kind of the perfect fit. And you didn't give me any weird vibes like throughout the interview, which is surprising because you're a very weird guy.
I am awkward. But sometimes I can sell it, as if I'm like a regular person. It's pretty cool. I remember leaving that interview and feeling like, I felt like I nailed it. I think I did a really good job. So like, I felt like if I didn't get the job, I did everything I could do. And I felt pretty good about it.
And this is where you impressed me the most because I distinctly said you have to be an Austin local. Like that was like the first descriptor I said, if you want this job, you need to live in Austin.
So the fact that I lied.
No. The fact that you didn't make that a problem. Because I had so many emails that are like, look, man, I don't live in Austin, but I'm willing to relocate, which you could have easily said in your email, but I would have ruled you out immediately. I would have been like, nah, I don't want to deal with someone relocating. So I remember once we had actually, I'd made the decision, and I think I had ran your resume by Chris too. And it was just very clear that I was just like, oh yeah, this guy's the best suited for the position. And I remember when I called you or I reached out to you, I was just like, hey, just so you know, like we're doing like, maybe you, like I told you that you got it. We're not 100% sure on start date yet because of, Texas permits are slow, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, man, just let me know. Like, I just need to pack up my stuff and drive over to Austin and I'll be there like within a couple days of whenever you need me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, whoa. So this guy knew he didn't live in Austin, just made sure that he didn't make that a problem at all. And then I realized like, you flew out for the interview. Yeah,
no, not only that. So I had applied, right? And I kind of forgot about it. A few months go by. And I was in Omaha, I think, at the zoo. And I got the email, can you do an interview next week? And I was just like, the answer is yes. You don't really say anything else, just yes.
Yeah.
So then I had to fly back to New York and then fly to Austin.
Holy shit.
So I was like booking 2 flights and like, all right, I gotta.
What a fucking expensive interview.
Sure was. Got a hotel.
Fucking A. So yeah, I remember when I hit you up that you got it and that the start date would be, some point within the next couple months. You're like, that shouldn't be a problem. I just need to drive from New York. It clicked in my head. I was just like, you flew out for that interview. At no point did you say that relocating was going to be a problem or anything that you were going to need help with. And I was like, oh, this guy is showing that he's not making his problems my problems. Like, he's not bringing me problems. He could potentially be bringing me solutions. Because things that could be a hurdle is like, he's not even letting me know that they're hurdles.
Right.
Like, they're they weren't my hurdles to solve. They were your hurdles to solve. But you weren't even making them like this isn't even something you need to worry about. And I remember once that clicked for me, I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted in an employee.
Yeah.
And that was what I liked. Like, you lying, being logo to Austin is actually the thing that helped you most to get the job.
Yeah, as long as I wouldn't have let you know beforehand, right?
Yeah, if you stated in that email, I would have ruled you out immediately.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even in that interview, you might have alluded to.
I think I alluded to it, but
right.
I don't know if we clarified.
I probably didn't connect the dots until I offered the job, and I was just like, oh, he really fucking like, he's so hungry for this. He's like not even letting me know like the shit he needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, when you're presented with an opportunity, like I didn't even see them as hurdles necessarily. It's just like the steps to make it happen, you know? And I'd done that before. Like I've moved places where I knew nobody. I lived in my car for like 2 weeks. I stayed at a hostel before just to like, you know, find my footing somewhere.
Right.
So like when you have the opportunity, you just gotta, I don't know, be okay to be uncomfortable and make it happen.
And you've always been, because you're used to like that nomad type of like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go pack up a backpack and go travel in Mexico for a week and see what that looks like. Like I've always admired that about you. You're not afraid to like go on adventures like by yourself, which I'm terrified to do that stuff.
Really?
I still feel uneasy going to a movie alone.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I wish I like, because it's kept me from so many experiences that I wanted to experience. And so I saw that, I was just like, oh, Chad not only like has a background in audio mixing, he knows how to do video editing, and there's a version of him that's just like comfortable being uncomfortable, which is like a skill that you can't teach. It's just like, oh, you have all these ingredients where this recipe could come up to something really tasty. God, what a terrible way to phrase that.
I mean, it's fine.
You're a tasty boy.
That was worse.
I'm editing that out. I'll leave it in.
You should leave it. Yeah, I mean, I spent like a lot of my 20s traveling and like learning how to be comfortable, being uncomfortable, like consciously kind of taking that in. And I think it's been pretty useful.
Tell me, now let's rewind a little bit. So you've had the job, like you got offered the job, but it was a whole journey because, I mean, you're the oldest person at YMH, right?
No, Ryan is.
Okay. He's like, 55?
Maybe 60. He's pushing it. I don't know if you saw the basketball video, but.
But you've had a journey of like acquiring like all these skills and all these tools that have helped you along these things to be able to say yes to certain opportunities that are being presented to you. So what I want to know is like, what was the first step in your journey where you're like, oh, I really like this, so I'm going to start learning this stuff? Like, I know was music your first passion, or was video your first passion?
I think music. You know, my dad was in a band, my grandma was a music teacher, and it's just always been something I did. So that was kind of my first passion, but just storytelling in general has been something I was interested in. And I don't know, I feel like all of the jobs that I've had have either been, I get to like work somewhat in that field or somewhat creatively, or they've been like, this is just a job so I can pay my rent, you know, but I can focus on like music or film or whatever it is. And me and my brothers used to make like silly YouTube videos all the time.
Right.
So, and at one point I worked at Blockbuster and a music store, like selling guitars and stuff. So it's always been like those two things in some way.
So then what is the next step from that? Like, what was your first gig where you felt like an imposter? Like, I feel like everyone in this industry has imposter syndrome at some point. So like, what was the first gig that you took on? Or were you just so experienced with, you know, with your background, like with your family, that you never felt it?
Oh, I started off experienced. You know, I was good from the get-go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no.
Tell me more about that.
No, I mean, there's stuff I don't know all the time that I just pretend like I do, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's half of it.
Yeah. I would say like, I mean, during my undergrad, I would do stuff a lot for the music department. Like I would record their recitals and stuff. And there were a lot of those where like I had never touched a soundboard. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Any fuck ups while you did that?
I mean, there's always some fuck ups, but I think in audio, sometimes you can like be silently putting out fires that no one else knows is going on.
Right.
Yeah. So that's been kind of nice.
Right, because there's only one sound guy for the most part that's like actually like monitoring everything. Right. You're just like, oh shit. Let me fucking, there's a buzz. Fucking, oh yeah, just use A1 and A2, buddy. Like,
It's all good. Or you just quit and never come back.
There's definitely been times where I've wanted to, I think back when I was working for Weed Maps, I had imposter syndrome the entire time because I was running a video department. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I was like, I need to fucking quit before the ceiling caves in because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, I was hired once for like a wedding videography company.
Oh, I've done that.
Yeah, and I fucked up. Like I didn't record the audio for like the best man's speech. So they were like calling and texting me, and I was just like, I don't know, it should be there.
Should be there. Oh my God. I've heard that so many times.
It's so just, I just never worked with them again, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's always so devastating when you make a mistake and you're like, yeah, they're never going to call me again.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a couple of those.
Yeah, me too.
I remember back when I was working on Lifetime movies, I was the nighttime assistant editor. So they'd film all day. And then I'd meet them at the office and like they'd give me the footage. And I was the assistant editor, so I'd organize it for the editor, then drive it to, 30 minutes down the road, put it in the editor's trunk. So I have the editor's car keys. So I open up his trunk, I put that drive in there, and then I take his empty drive. That was going to be the transfer drive for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the setup. And I became like pretty proficient at it where I was able to do like an 8 hours worth of work in like 2 to 3 hours. I hadn't been offered a day job yet, but what had happened was it was the last day of the production and I knew they were scheduled to end at like 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then at like 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m., I get the text saying like, hey, we just finished up. We got a round of drinks, but like we're all heading back to the office now. And in my head, I'm like, hey, I get you guys just had like your last day of filming, but like I'm still fucking working.
Right.
And now I'm starting work at 2 a.m. instead of like 11 p.m.
Oh, no.
So by the time I'm coming in, I could have already been done with work.
Yeah.
So I send an email that's like, hey guys, like I understand it's the last day, but like next time, please let me know. Like please prioritize bringing the drive back because of XYZ. Like it really, it just be more considerate of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had said that I just finished up and like I'm leaving, and like what I had done on accident was I had given them direct proof on how long it takes me to do that work, which was way less than a full day.
Oh, no.
And so the EP of that show just responds to that thread and was just like, so you got in at 2 a.m. and you sent this email at like 4:30 a.m. That's when you ended your day? So it takes you 2.5 hours to do this work? I was like, well, that was the last. And I was just like, they never hired me back again.
Yeah.
And or no, actually, I remember what happened was I had to train this lady that was working for. They were like, hey, we need you to train this lady for during this movie because she's going to start helping out on stuff in the future. I'm like, okay, well, what's her deal? She's like, well, she used to be an assistant editor. I'm like, used to be. So what do I need to, she should know how to do this. Like, well, Xena Warrior Princess was the last thing she worked on. I'm like, wasn't that shot on film? And they're like, yeah. Yeah, she used to work with moviolas and fucking gluing like film together.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool, but does not translate at all to like digital editing software.
Right.
So the entire time I'm just like telling her, like I'm teaching her, I'm running her through workflow, and I just see her not taking notes. I'm like, she'd really be writing stuff. And I remember that first day on her own, that first night on her own without me there, I woke up to like 6 missed calls and like 3 voicemails. And then production called me and they're like, hey man, like, is it possible to like to get you back for this project? I was like, yeah, I'm going to need 3 times the rate though. And then never asked again. And then they randomly called me back 8 years later to try and be a feature editor for one of their films because they were like, you should be knowing how to edit by now, right? I was like, That's why you're calling me? How many people said no to this?
That's wild.
It was really wild.
Huh.
It was like while I was like 4 years into working at YMH, it was wild.
Oh, so maybe they wanted the connection.
No. There's no way they knew. Like, this guy doesn't know how to use the internet. Like,
Oh, okay.
Like, he doesn't know me. Like, he doesn't know this. Like, you'll never find out. I'm not going to say the name of the thing, but like.
I thought there was a lot of people watching.
No. There are.
Okay.
But fucking this 70-year-old isn't watching this shit.
All right.
Yeah. And what the fuck was that?
What the fuck was me being the last on your call list for today?
What do you mean? Being the last on my call list. You were the first person I called when Annie dropped out.
Cool, man. Cool. Happy to be here, man.
Happy to have you, bud.
I miss that laugh. You know, sometimes I forget that I'm funny.
Well, I'm also a cheap laugh, so don't let that go to your head.
No, I know. But it still feels good. See? Oh, thank you.
But so you're now, because I remember what was the gig that you had? The gig that you had right before YMH was you being a professor, like in a cruise ship type of university.
No, those are two separate things.
Okay.
So the ship that I worked on, and this goes back to like me finding jobs that allowed me to do things I wanted to do. Like I wanted to travel. So I worked as like audio visual staff on this. Like it was a cruise ship that was converted into a university.
Wow.
And so there were like a lot of students and teachers
Or
on
like
there.
study abroad type stuff.
Study abroad. You know, I went on there first as a student and then I came back as staff. And, you know, like lecturers or performers would come on and I would do the AV work. And whenever we were at sea, I'd be working. But whenever we went to port, which would be anywhere from like 3 to 8 days, like in ports all around the world, I was free to do whatever I wanted to. So like I would go out. I sometimes wouldn't come back to the ship. I would just go take trains and couch surf and sleep outside if I needed to. But yeah.
Sleep outside?
Sometimes, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, just kind of sometimes wing it. Sometimes, you know, it's like, oh, I definitely want to go see this thing. Or like there's this couch surfing host in this like small fishing village on this part of the country, and I would just go make that happen. So, yeah.
That sounds so terrifying to me.
Oh, it's so great.
Couch surfing in random countries
I miss it.
with language barriers. Like, are you staying on people's couches where you don't know how to communicate with them?
Sometimes, yeah.
Wild.
It's just like, we're looking for a place to sleep. And they're like, you gotta go this, you know, but in Italian, they're like,
This way.
Yeah. It's really far.
Mamma mia, you want to sleep? Yeah.
I was like, thank you.
Oh, no, that's not Italian.
No.
Okay.
So the professor thing, that was after grad school. So I studied my undergrad was international studies. My grad school, which was like years after I had finished my undergrad, was documentary media.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that, I got to teach a production lab as part of like, you know, because it's expensive. So when you're teaching, they like cover your tuition and pay you.
Okay.
So I did that. And when I graduated, did a lot of freelancing, ended up getting a job as a professor in documentary filmmaking at this small college. And did that for like a year until the pandemic. You know, everyone had to stay inside.
Right.
So like our classes moved to online classes.
Oh, right. I forget that, like, you came on, like, after the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me that started, like, 5 years ago.
Yeah. And I was in, you know, Chicago and New York, so that like the lockdown part of that lasted quite a while.
Right.
So our classes stayed online, and after like a year of teaching online film, I was like, you know, this isn't the best way to be learning how to make films or documentaries or movies. You need to like collaborate and get your hands on the cameras. So I was kind of over it. And then our department kind of stopped offering film classes. And so I went more into like freelance commercial work. I did a Peloton web video, like a Lyft commercial, a bunch of stuff like that.
Right. I remember that part of your resume.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's always the thing, is just like, have you worked on real things?
Yeah.
For companies that I've heard of.
Right.
I remember your reel was just like, oh, fuck. You're like, yeah, you did like Lyft commercials, like all sorts of different things. We're just like, cool. We're not the first ones to take a chance on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I did a whole range of things, you know, and I think that's helpful. And having a portfolio and a reel to show that, I think is super important, because sometimes people don't have time to read through your whole resume or read through your whole cover letter or whatever it is,
right?
Or look at your website. They just want to know that you have done and can do the things they need you to. And sometimes the quickest way to get that across is through like a reel or a portfolio of some sort.
So what's your approach to putting a reel together?
I find,
and just so everyone knows, a reel is just like a minute to 2 minute long like video example of everything that you've kind of worked on. It's just like, here's the broad spectrum.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be everything, but it's like
the most impressive.
Yeah,
stuff,
like the impressive stuff, or like
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and it depends on what you're doing. Like, are you a cinematographer? Then you want to find shots that like look really pretty.
Right.
If you're an editor, you kind of want to highlight your editing, which is kind of hard to do in a reel sometimes.
So hard. Unless it's like a comedy editor, then you're like, that's easy to put together.
Yeah.
Like a colorist reel is the easiest reel to put together.
Yeah.
You just show something that's shittily colored, and then just that line that swipes across. Like, see how cool see how much better my shit looks? Like, like you see like a before and after. But yeah, an editing reel is difficult.
Yeah, I guess what was tough about mine is like, I did cinematography, I was doing some directing, I did some writing, I did some editing, I was doing sound. So it's like, I didn't know if I could really communicate all that, but I just figured if I picked some of my best work that it would at least be worth watching for the person who was looking over it.
Yeah, and I definitely watched it, and that was definitely like a key factor. Like, I was like, okay, everything on this resume looks good. And like the cover letters written, not like an idiot. Mm-hmm. There were so many cover letters that I had to read through where it was literally just direct insults at me.
Yeah.
I was just like, motherfucker, I'm going to be your boss, right?
Right. Hey, you fucking suck at your job. Let me do it for you.
Right. Just like, how hard is Googling? It's just like, well, on the spot with all cameras and microphones on you, it's a lot harder.
I mean, I wanted to say all those things to you. I still do, but sometimes it's better just to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, dude. Have they made you Google yet for any of the shows?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, I just felt my face get so hot.
Hey, man, you started it.
I really did. I asked for all of it.
And you were Team Chris for a while, so probably still are.
I am.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot that you're wrong a lot, so I forgive it.
That was how I knew you were good people. Is when you first started working with us, everyone was working out of Vinny's house, which was fucking crazy. But you and Chris worked together, and we had started a Slack channel, so I could just kind of like see everyone interacting together, and I'd be working from home. Sometimes I'd be working like out of Benny's place too. But seeing how you and Chris talked to each other, I was like, oh, they're getting along really fucking well, and this is a really fun dynamic. Like, because you are so much older than Chris.
God damn it!
but Chris was real. Like, seeing Chris flex power is just something I'd never seen him do.
Yeah.
And granted, he was doing it in a joking way, but I've never even seen him joke like that before.
But I wouldn't let it really fly. I would flip it right back.
Right. You were talking right back, and you would cut him down at the ankles every time. And it was just like, man, watching you guys fight is just so, because it's harmless. Like, it's honest, like, it's friendly ribbing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Chad's gonna be a great fucking fit here. He's like, Chris finally has a friend. Like, Chris finally has another person here that speaks his language other than me, because we were both post-production people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is nice. Like, the team is starting to form. It's more than just we have one person that's an expert at one thing, and now there's just overlap in expertise.
Yeah,
so,
I really like Chris. He's actually a cool dude.
No, yeah, I could tell.
Except, I don't know if you heard this, but
his biggest flaws, yeah.
Yeah, he has a lot, but
he's been caught stealing from the company.
Yeah. I mean, your show is the first anyone's seen from him in a while. I think it's probably because our little feud ended poorly for him.
Yeah.
So just,
sure,
tread lightly. But
yeah, I'll let you. Yeah.
so I went to his house. He bought this house, and
Yeah.
he had a housewarming party. I found out he has 2 guitars. He plays guitar.
He plays guitar?
Yeah, and I've known him. He knows I play guitar. You know, I've
2
written
guitars.
Yeah, I've written songs about him, and he like this. I've known him 3 years, and he's never once mentioned that he plays guitar.
Wait, like at what level?
I mean, he's probably not good,
Sure.
but like,
But 2 guitars isn't like a,
Yeah.
I just bought this to hang on the wall.
Yeah.
That's like a,
Like
you know how to play.
he occasionally plays them.
Does he have an acoustic and an electric?
Mm-hmm.
So one for every, wow.
Yeah,
And you just kept that.
never told me.
When did you, and you found out at the house, so like recently, like you knew him for years before he revealed to you that that
And
he's also a musician.
He didn't even reveal it. I was like, "Why the fuck do you have 2 guitars and you haven't told me this?" And he was like, "I don't." It's just didn't want, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, "You want to play some video games?"
He doesn't have glasses.
You might as well, fucking guy.
Oh, fuck. It's, oh, God. See, that's what makes it so much better. Like, Chris, just everyone on that crew, like, it's like it's not like a lunatics running the asylum, like, scenario, but every person that works at YMH is a psycho in some way. Like
Yeah.
a tolerable psycho, you know, we're just like, that's kind of wild. Like, it's not a deal breaker, but that's kind of wild that you do that.
We're all pretty weird.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have a lot of, a lot outside of that kind of world that will really work for us, you know?
Right, that aren't weird in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because like that's the thing. If you're not weird, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm uncomfortable. Where's HR?"
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, yeah, that's not gonna fly.
Yeah.
Like, you need to know how to take a joke. You know?
Yeah, the new kid, Tanner, he's been, you know how like I kind of came after Chris when I first got there?
Uh-huh.
He's been doing that to me.
Dude,
It's fucking,
isn't he like 20?
yeah, he's like 12 and he's fucking coming after me. Every day, like calling me like names for no reason.
I'm bummed that I don't know what it's like to work with that guy. Like, it's like he seems like such a fun and interesting dude, and it's, I mean, in all honesty, I miss working there. You know,
Yeah.
I miss hanging out with my friends.
Yeah.
and doing things.
Yeah, we miss you there. And yeah, a lot of it with Tanner, just like a lot of back and forth between me and him. Like, I don't know how, but that place is like a prison yard where it's like the new guy has to like come after the, you know.
I mean, it's
smartest.
It's not designed to be like that.
Yeah.
It just naturally happens.
Yeah. So
Wait, so how's he coming after you?
I don't know. Just every day I walk in, he's like, "Oh, those pants are gay." Just stupid shit like that. He's a little fucking bastard.
Wait, he's saying your parents are gay?
Pants or just whatever it is. I mean, he'd probably say my parents too. Like he has no regard for, you know.
But it's all in
His
good fun,
elders.
right? Like, you give it back.
Yeah, of course. He's a little.
I would hope so. You're twice his age.
He's a twinky little dork.
I'd love to see your Kill Tony set.
Oh, I would never do that. God.
But it seems like you guys are still having so much fun. Like, it's, you know, we play pickleball and shit, and we hang out like outside of work from time to time.
Yeah.
And it's always so fun to reconnect with you guys. And every time I do, I'm like, I miss fucking, you know, being in there every day with you guys.
Yeah, man, you made it fun. Like you were definitely the, you know, you set the energy and the vibe of the studio. So
Oh, I
it
appreciate
was really weird when you left. I mean, you know, we've gotten used to it, but like, and like, I don't want you back now.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
you know.
yeah, especially, I mean, this is because if I do come back, it'll be a lot less fun for you.
Yeah. Oh, in regards to like hiring, you know, when we were doing hiring other people,
Mhm.
I remember when I came on, Chris was upset that I wasn't a girl. Like he was like, "We need more females in the studio." He was mad that I was a straight white male.
Are you just assassinating character right now?
No.
Because Chris isn't here to defend himself. I'm not into this type of stuff. If
Well,
Chris
we'll
was
see.
here, you could say whatever you want.
Well, we'll see what his episode is like.
Well, hold on. Like, we could just call
Call him.
Chris.
Yeah.
So you're saying he was bummed that you weren't a woman because we need more women?
Ask him. He will say, yes, that is true.
All right.
I'm not assassinating his character. I'm just telling a story.
All right, hold on. Let me just quickly.
Yep.
Hey, Chris.
What's up?
So I'm doing an episode with Chad right now. By the way, you're on Catching You Up with Nadav podcast right now.
Nadav Itzakowitz.
Chad could hear you too. He said that you were really bummed that he wasn't a girl and that we need more diversity on staff, and that's where your tension kind of started with him.
Oh yeah, that's a 100% where the tension came from.
Go on.
Yeah, no, obviously not.
You definitely told me that.
No, my tension was used because you suck.
What the fuck? Okay, now I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, go ahead. Assassinate his character. He's here to defend himself.
So once Chris was given the power to hire people, who has he hired since? 2 straight white men. Not any women.
How do you know they're straight?
I guess I don't.
Chad, you're letting your colors shine.
Well,
And none of
one of
them
them's
are colors of the
one of
rainbow.
them's
Way to go,
married.
dude.
One of them's married to a woman, so
Yeah, so that
All
means
right.
nothing.
that's true. Okay, so he hired 2 white dudes. I can say that for certain.
And I will say that actually, wait a second. No. Chris, you and me hired those people together.
Yeah.
Just their start dates happened after mine, after I left.
The only start date that happened after you left was probably Garrett.
Right. Yeah, but Alan,
Yeah. Alan and Gamba both were hired during your tenure, yes.
Gamba's not white.
Yeah, he's also a dude, though.
How do you know? So now you're assuming gender too?
I mean, he talks.
Jesus, Chad. All right, Chris, good good for you, buddy. You won this one.
Yeah,
You're so fucking stupid.
All right, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Anyway, he was mad that I wasn't a girl, and then he hires like 3 dudes right after me. As soon as he gets the
We did
power.
that together, and then we're all super diverse. So now that Chris has been able to functionally defend himself from your attempted character assassination, which honestly kind of falls on me because I helped him hire all those males. Granted, I don't know if they're cis. They weren't all white. By complexion, maybe you could argue that they were. Okay, so look, I'll give you that you are into diverse hires, but that's a great thing. So let's just all give a round of applause for Chad for helping to create more diversity in the workspace.
I am never coming back here.
We both know that's a lie. If I call you on a random Sunday, we both know you're showing up.
I mean, yeah.
We still getting a schwitz after this?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a requirement for being a podcaster now, right? You got to do cold plunges and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go to my favorite spot. We're going over to Kuya, where we sauna and plunge and get IV infusions and isolation tanks. It's honestly, I feel so weird saying that out loud, like whenever people aren't in that stuff, but it's always like, hey man, I don't know. Like, do you want to like sleep the best sleep of the week? Like sauna and plunge, like that'll help you out, and also it helps with stress levels, and that's just a free plug for Kuya.
You're definitely one of them now.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'm a fucking
Cold plunging sauna guy.
cold plunging son of a bitch, dude.
Yeah.
It's it feels good. I like it.
Yeah, I should probably start doing it if I'm going to be making my own content. That's part of the game.
You have to.
You start a channel, you create some content, you cold plunge, and it's pretty much the recipe, right?
Yeah. If you're lucky, you do content about the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Rogan, like if he didn't cold plunge, would you know who Joe Rogan is?
Where would he be?
Andrew Huberman. If he didn't cold plunge, would you know who that
If
guy
he wasn't, skipping back and forth between a cold plunge and a sauna 3 times a day, I don't think anyone would know who those guys are.
So here's another fun thing that I would like to discuss too, because in working at a podcast production company, you just have to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible. Like saying that's not my job is a very quick way to like, cool man, you're not gonna last here. Like saying sentences like that in new media is just like, oh cool, so you're not here to help like create solutions, you're here to create problems.
Yeah, you have to kind of do everything.
Right. At least try.
Yeah.
Like if you say sorry, that's not my job, like it's the biggest red flag for me where it's like, oh, you're not a teammate.
Yeah.
Like I can't trust you to like be in the trenches with me. Like it's, if you're like, hey man, already put in my 40 hours this week, like 41. That's kind of like, dude, you know what this is. You got to get ready to get dirty sometimes. And like, you know, none of this is ever unrewarded. Like if I ever asked someone to stay a little late or, you know, hey man, we got to come in on a Saturday. It's always like, hey, here's a comp day. Here's just a free vacation day that's never going to do any, like use it whenever you want. And like, I'd always try and make up for it where it's never like, I was never the type of manager or boss that was like, yeah, buddy, you're trying to fucking, you're saying you're not going to do this. Like I never tried to flex too hard. I was always just like, look, man, I know I'm asking for a lot. This will get paid back to you like later on, whether in like an extra day rate, like a padded check or an extra something or other. But like I would always try and sweeten it. So it's not just like you have to do this. It's I'm asking to do this and I'm going to thank you very well for doing it.
Yeah, you were good at manipulating us into stuff.
It's called producing, not manipulating.
All right. No, I think everyone knows what it is. You know, you just got to do what you got to do.
Right.
And
it's uncomfortable to ask people to, you know, work more than you want to, but also in entertainment, that's just kind of like the regular thing. And I always try to prioritize to make that place like as a normal place to work as possible in terms of like work-life balance. And, you know, sometimes that's very possible for a long stretch of time. And then other times it's like, there's a live show coming up. It's going to be rough. And like, that was actually, I think that was the most in the trenches I ever was with you, was that YMH where we did that Garth sketch.
the Garth sketch, yeah.
Where I think we filmed that 2 weeks before the live.
Something like that.
And like in my head, like I know how long approval processes can take internally. Plus it's like we're filming hours worth of stuff with a whole bunch of interviews and we need to condense it into a 5 to 10 minute thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is gonna fucking this is the stress that comes with the job. Is like we're filming a huge fucking thing. And granted, this is like one of the things that I had to deal with, but like I was like, Chad, this is the only thing you're fucking focusing on. Put this cut together. And I remember there was a couple times where I'm like, sorry, buddy, like, can we please come in tomorrow on Saturday and work on this some more? And like I felt so fucking bad, but like you were a trooper the entire time because it's hard to find people that care.
Mm-hmm.
And people that if they do a bad job, that it just rolls off their back. It's just like, this doesn't ruin your day to know that you fucked something up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a perfectionist, so like
Right.
I have to like if I'm working on something, I have to feel like it's good. Otherwise, I don't feel good. And I don't stop working on it until I feel okay.
And that's what was so cool was like I got to see that side of you when we were working on that sketch. Cause I know that like I think you and me were both working on empty gas tanks, but I think it was like probably like a Saturday or a Sunday evening, and we were now 7 days from like when the live show was happening. And at this point, like we're like everything should have been in the can for a week at this point.
Right.
And so I think what had happened, even with that sketch, I think we were working on revisions and changing, like just like moving around set pieces to like just change the flow of stuff up until like I think an hour before we went live was when we had the final, it's colored, it's mixed, and it's actually ready to air.
Yeah.
Was like an hour before that live stream started.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I think we had like 2 hours of footage and like we needed a rough cut within days so people could give notes and whatnot. So, and that's probably the fastest I've ever put something together. And I was kind of annoyed because I'm like,
I know. I was able to pick up on that.
This doesn't lead to like good work, but I think ultimately it kind of did. You know, I think it was useful to have you, at least, you even stayed late with me and came in with me and was like,
well, yeah, because I don't believe in being the person to be like, look, buddy, go fucking do this. Like, unless I'm there with you. Because like, I don't want it to suck for someone. Like if it's going to suck for someone, like I'm not letting someone jump on a grenade by themselves.
Yeah. And it's good. Like, because it sucks having someone over your shoulder, but you wouldn't really do that. You'd be like, you'd give a note or two here or there that was useful. And it's really nice when you're like, you have so much footage and you become attached to it. Because I shot some of it too.
Right.
It's hard to like know what can just go, what you can leave out. And so like having you there to be like, you can chop that.
Right. And
You know?
that was the big thing of also me giving time is like, if I was with you in that room, frame fucking, like just editing it, just using your hands to do it, like, no, move that over here, I'd get too attached to the footage.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't be able to make those calls. So like, as someone that's like helping in this process, like as the executive producer, like I had a whole laundry list of shit that I needed to get done. So I was like, great, I'll just have this be a work day. I'll let Chad like work and I'll be like, how much time do you need before this part gets smoothed out? I'm like, cool, man, I'll see you in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'd go work on shit, we'd see it, and then I'd be able to give like objective, unbiased notes because like I haven't been sitting with it with you.
Yeah.
And so like it's developing a system where it's like, if you get burned out on footage, like everyone's fucked. Because
Yeah.
now you can't tell what can go and what needs to stay. And you're just like, no, but like, because you forget the stuff that you cut out is like, no, that's a load-bearing thing that
Right.
sets up the premise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it turned out pretty good.
I was super proud of it.
Yeah, me too. And like it was fun because we got on the jumbotron for that at the show.
Right.
Well,
Which I didn't even stay for.
No, we were up in the nosebleeds, and you're like, "There's no way you guys are getting down there." And I know from my experience, I'm like, I can figure out how to get down there.
Well, that's the craziest part about that whole entire sketch was that our plan was to just like film like interviews with people being like, did you know that Garth is a serial murderer?
Yeah.
But like we didn't have any beats mapped out. We didn't know how it was going to end. We didn't know what the punchline was.
Yeah.
And if you guys didn't get on the Jumbotron with the sign,
Yeah.
like I was like, I don't know how that would have ended.
Yeah.
like I don't know how we would have like neatly wrapped that in a bow where it's like,
Yeah. Getting that definitely made that piece work.
Yeah.
I think. So, yeah, I mean, me and Zolo had been inching our ways down there. Like one guy got real mad at us. We weren't on the floor yet, but we were getting closer. And like, yeah, I could tell this guy probably wanted to fight us. So
security or
just a fan, because we didn't have seats there. We were way up at the top.
Yeah.
And then we go outside and
You
we
guys
go.
are both taking Muay Thai at this point, right?
Yeah, but like we don't fucking know what we're doing. I don't advertise that because then people are like, "Well, how tough is he?" Not very.
Challenge him. You see him on the street.
I would fight Zolo if we
You'd fight Zolo?
for Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Not like a fight, but like Muay Thai.
That's fighting. What are you talking about?
Not like a street angry fight. Like if it were like a
Right, like a regulated, sanctioned.
yeah, because we've been taking it.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. Chad Wallin is challenging Josh Zolo to a sanctioned exhibition Muay Thai match.
If you want to sponsor me, let me know.
Yeah, dude, I would absolutely record that and put it on my fucking channel. That'd be so. This is fucking street beef.
So who do you think would win?
Ooh, man, that's a really good question.
No, it's not.
No, because you have old dad strength. Which is hard to fight. It's a compliment. I'm using it as a compliment right now. But Zolo is just so young and spry and fucking can just move fast.
Dude, I'm not 60.
What are you?
I'm in my 30s.
30 what?
Something.
Yeah, see, I don't honestly, I'd probably bet on you. Anytime I've bet on you, I've made money.
Yeah.
Like remember
It's so weird you're Team Chris. I don't get it.
Look, have I lost money on bet? Oh, I have lost money by betting on Chris against you.
Yeah. And challenging me to pickleball. You lost then too. $100.
Well, that's different. Like I'm very close to both of those challenges, you know? Like Chris was my first hire. You got to understand that. And then, yeah, of course I'm going to think I'm going to beat you at pickleball, like because I'm delusional.
Yeah.
But
I was like, what?
but I will rematch you.
Okay. Let's do it.
I'm so fucking down.
Let's film it so you remember.
Let me get it. Okay. let me get a couple more reps under. I literally losing to you was the last time I played.
Yeah.
So that was a good trench story. And then also I want to talk about, because you also transitioned, because you were hired as a editor and then transitioned over to, you then became regularly in the booth because since you had a strong audio background,
Yeah.
we transitioned from like, I think it was like Boom Recorder Pro, which was like some discontinued app that was recommended to me by some random audio person that I used to work with.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one either.
Yeah. And then you came along and you're like, oh, why aren't we recording in Pro Tools? I'm like, that's a solid question. You know how to use Pro Tools? I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And then no one else knew how to do it. And I was just like, cool. Well, Chad just needs to be in the booth, like, for this stuff. And you went from being a post-production person to then being, like, in the booth for every single show.
Yeah.
And now you've transitioned from, like, you know, in the booth, audio, doing audio and logging, to now you're producing. So, like, tell me what that transition was like from, like, hired as this position and then it's slowly morphing throughout, like, the time. Did it take, like, were you hungry for it? Were you ready for it? Like, what? Like, tell me what was going through your mind as this evolution was happening.
Yeah, I mean, I was both hungry and ready for it. I think that's the thing is, like, you know, you have all these years of skills and experience and it takes a little bit of luck, but, like, you have to have that luck, like the experience to make use of that luck. And I just saw little opportunities while I started there. Like, I was editing to start and I knew I wanted to do, you know, be in the booth was the fun thing of the job.
Right.
You know, I was like, so how can I prove that I can do that? Because I knew I could. And then Tom was recording his audiobook in the studio and I was like,
Right.
okay.
Oh, did we do that, like, right around when you started?
When we got into the studio, because we were in Ennie's house for the most
Right.
part.
Oh, so that was, like, relatively early into us having that studio.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so I, like, set up a little vocal recording isolation booth
Right.
and I was like, I can do this from here because Tom wanted to do it at the studio.
Right.
And I think, you know,
And it was the easiest yes to say yes to.
Yeah.
You were like, you approached me or Ryan or something like that, and you were like, hey, you know, like, I have a background in audio recording and audio mixing and audio, like, everything. And if Tom wanted to do this from the studio, it was so clear that you had to be involved.
Yeah.
And you presented it, it was just like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think even Tom was like, okay, I trust him now with like audio stuff. And I mean, like, a lot of our listeners are audio only. So it's like good to have somebody who knows that, knows how to do that.
Right.
But also, you know, I have like other skills and other background stuff that I do. Like I've written short films that I've shown at like festivals and stuff. I was always doing sketches with my brothers, like I said. So I wanted to be more involved creatively, and I think I did that just by like taking opportunities again that would just come up where, you know, Tom wanted to play basketball against the Weatherman, and it just kind of I just kind of shot that. You know, I like kind of took on the role of cinematographer / kind of director, you know, because I think you might have been out of town at that time. But we needed people to step up is what happened.
Right.
And,
right. I was gone for Tom versus the Weatherman. I think I was dealing with family stuff around then.
Yeah. So that, and then the other basketball thing, and just anything that comes up, I'm like, how can I prove that not only can I do that, but I bring a lot of good ideas to the table, which is why I think Tom wanted me to produce more.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I would also like to add on top of that is, you know, whenever I was absent for those types of things, like, it was always the highlight. Because, like, whenever I was not around for something, I was dealing with something, like, devastating, like, in my family. Like, it's why I wasn't there for Two Bears, One Sap when we did that. The NASCAR Daytona Two Bears. That Tom versus the Weather Guy thing.
Yeah.
And it was always the happiest part of any of that was knowing that, like, that big project that we were doing went off and like whether it was flawlessly or not flawlessly, like, it went off and like it wasn't a disaster. I'm like, that's what I'm fucking talking about. Like, we got a killer crew. Everyone there knows what the fuck they're doing. Like, I don't need it. Like, if I can't make it there, like, I'm not, like, sure, maybe I'm someone that built the machine, but the machine is working. You know?
We have a pretty good team.
You have it's a great team over there. Like, everyone there is an absolute killer.
As like weird and fucked up as we are.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone serves a purpose. It's a wild Swiss Army knife, but every single person there is a tool.
Yeah. Thank you. Cool.
No. That came out just. But I mean that, like, genuinely. Like, everyone there is so good at things and is so ready to learn new things.
Yeah, you got to be open to do all kinds of stuff, you know, and like, and like you should do things that people haven't asked you to do.
Right.
You know, like I brought those Christmas songs to Tom that I wrote. Like, no one asked me to do that.
Right.
You
For
know?
the holiday special.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the thing is that, like, we've always run that company as a, hey man, you're just an intern, or like you're an editor. Like, why don't you let the ideas come from the producers? It's like the best idea in the room always won. It was like we never cared who it came from. If it was good, like fuck yeah, let's do it. And you were like, hey, you know, I write music, and I think I could write like a couple like great Christmas carols. I was like, fuck yeah, Chad, fucking take it away. And it was like some of the funniest shit from that.
I love doing that kind of stuff, and to this day, like I still bring stuff to Tom all the time.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
With coming to the end of this episode, let's say there's someone that's a car salesman or works in a factory or working in any industry where they don't want to do and they want to have a job like yours.
Yeah.
What would you say is step one?
I would say just start doing whatever you're interested in. Just start doing it. It doesn't matter what level it is, you know. It doesn't have to be the thing that like sorry.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be the thing that gets you the accolades or the, you know, recognition or anything, but just start doing stuff. Like you can keep your job that you have now and still do that kind of thing. I mean, that's what I did most of my career. I had all kinds of jobs that had nothing to do with what I wanted to do and weren't, you know, great jobs. I had one job where I would from Denver, I would drive the Wall Street Journal from the printing press overnight. I would drive it to Rapid City, South Dakota and back 13 hours round trip through like back roads of Nebraska and South Dakota, like sometimes no cell service. 3 times a week I did that.
Holy shit.
But it paid my rent. And what I could also do is I would take demos of my songs with me and I would like write lyrics on the way, you know? So it was like I made use of my time that way.
Found a way to get paid to work on the thing that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Fine. You have to make time for it. Like
Right.
no matter what your job is now, you have to make time for it. I even do that now, and I like my job. You know, I wake up before work starts and I start editing my own projects that I'm working on.
And you know, that's the biggest, I think that's such great advice because it's so many people are like, no, I want my
Stop
first.
tapping. Go ahead.
So many people like say, like they come up with all these barriers to entry that keep themselves from being able to do the thing that they want to do that'll make them happy. Where they're like, I want my first thing to be perfect. It's like, I got news for you. Your first thing's not going to be perfect. In fact, it's going to be terrible.
I mean, I get that. Like, I want everything I do to be perfect. But
Right. But
have
you
to let
learn
go.
along the way how to become more perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And like, sure, your first one isn't going to be perfect. Maybe your 10th one will be.
Yeah.
Maybe your 15th one. But like, if you don't start, you're not going to understand like how to get to the finish line.
Mhm.
You need to start running at the starting line and then just run the race,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And there's so much like information out there and like you have access to all kinds of tools, whatever your medium is. There's no reason you can't do some small thing now.
Right.
Yeah. I wish I would have been making more throughout my whole life, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it is like, say yes. Like, don't turn things down because it'd be inconvenient. Be like, yeah, I'm going to sleep like shit for the next month, but I'm going to be getting so much experience meeting people that could possibly lead to more things. Like saying no and staying in your room is what's going to keep you unhappy.
But it feels so good sometimes.
It does.
Yeah.
Dude, being by myself doing nothing is my absolute favorite thing ever. Don't tell my girlfriend that.
I wanted to say no today.
And thank you for saying yes.
You're welcome.
And look, this is probably going to be the launch of a beautiful. But no, I do want to say thank you so much for like saying yes to this on such short notice. Because, I mean, I think this type of stuff is important. Like, no one out there, especially in this industry, like this industry is so new, and people don't know how to get into it. And like the ways to get in are so much less traditional than the other way. But it's not even kept secrets. It's just no one is really talking about the different ways that you could get into it.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways. You
There's
know,
a million different
There's no
ways.
one direct route
Right.
to do this kind of stuff.
Like I feel like every single person is just like, oh yeah, you know, it's just it's no path is the same. But the one key consistent thing in all of it is that no one ever stayed stagnant or stationary.
Yeah.
Always making moves towards the thing that you want to do, whether even if it makes you uncomfortable. Take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. You're still at a net positive with your steps, you know?
Yeah, and even if you don't know for sure what it is you want to do, like even me now, I'm still not totally certain what I want to be doing. It's like you do things that like you can just feel excite you, you know, that
Right.
you're interested in.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, try to make stuff that you'd like to watch and make them with people that you like.
Yeah.
And that's always been my goal. So, like, in my mind, I've been successful since I started my, I hated working on those Lifetime movies. But like after that, when you start finding your people and you're like, oh, cool, fucking Ben is hiring me for a gig. I know it's going to be good because he's fun as shit. Or like, oh, fucking Wolf is hitting me up. Great. I fucking love working with that guy. I know, like, if he's going to be my post soup, I know that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
And like, likewise, if I'm calling you up for something, you know it's not going to be the worst fucking thing ever. At least you get to work with me, and I'm fun to work with.
Yeah, this was all right.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Nadav Itzakowicz.
Which reminds me, so Chad, I want to say thank you so much for coming on to this. And I want to say thank you to also everyone that you're seeing on screen right now. Without their help, I wouldn't be able to put out this show as quickly, as consistently, as regularly, and as well-ly as I do. And if you'd like to become a producer of the show, go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below. All the support helps, and it helps me create this content and put it out on a consistent basis. And I'd like to thank Chad again for coming onto the show. And Chad, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. This has been fun. I don't have a whole lot to plug, but I have started doing little travel videos that I'm putting on my Instagram.
Hell yeah.
That, you know, I like Ari's show a lot, you know, and I like travel stuff. So travel videos on my Instagram, I started putting them on YouTube. I think one of them has like 3 views now. It's pretty cool.
Hell yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
so get in at the beginning.
Check the description. I'll have links to Chad's Instagram and YouTube so that you could just do easy clicking through there. And with all that, I'd like to remind everyone this is completely unconfirmed news. See you next week.